Welcome back to the shed. Like I said in that previous quick video, I'm back. The jet ski sitting behind the camera, and it's about time we got stuck into finishing it. So what I'm going to do in this video, it's not going to be a massively long video full of detail, but I'm going to pick up where I left off. And for me, that's going to be a bit of a refresher because I actually can't remember where I got up to with this ski. So I'm going to turn the camera around and I'm going to hook up the hoses, the electricals, just remind myself where I got up to with even installing the engine with engine mounts been bolted down. I don't think I torqued them down. I might even have to go back and rewatch that last video. So thanks for tuning back in again, and let's get stuck back into this jet ski. And it is cold. So I hope you're warm, because I'm not. Right, so I'm just going to start as best as I can, sort of unwrapping the puzzle that I left myself. I obviously still need to do a bit more of the structural side of this, but I just got, and stick with me because I'm just sort of talking out loud, but I've just got a lot of little loose ends. For instance, like this fuel pickup, we've got filter, we've got fuel lines here. I've got a choke line here that's definitely needs to be replaced. So I'm going to order these parts. I've got a fuel valve too, which, to be honest with you, I highly doubt is going to work. So I think what I'll do is I'm going to unbolt this. I think I'll unbolt the electrical box here. I'm just going to sit that out the way so I can get to the back of the choke and fuel control valve there. I'm actually going to, first things first, there's a lot of dust in here. I'm just going to give this a hit with the air compressor, and then I might even get the vacuum into some of these spots just so I can try and eliminate any of this dust just getting into places sort of where it doesn't really need to be. So let's just start with that. In a minute, it's probably about as, look, I don't have to go too extreme with it, but about as good as it's going to get. So I'm just going to grab some tools out and I'll take off this electrical box, and then we'll start making a plan of attack from there. So I'm going to renew these fuel lines because they're as hard as a rock, and I really don't want that just to be a silly failure point, when you're out in the water and if one of these split. So, but what I want to do is I've just, off camera, I put a pair of grips on the fuel valve. I was thinking about just putting one on the list of parts to order, but it actually turns, and it turns very smoothly. So what I think I'll do is I'll just color code these hoses with the correct nipple, so that way I can run some new ones moving forward. But I'm just going to blow some compressed air through these just to see if that valve is actually doing what it's meant to do. So I'll just set that up, and then we'll give that a test. Just going to trim these off because I know that if I don't, one of them will poke me in the eye. And that will just be less than ideal. All right. Just going to blow, like I said, some air through these now, and then I just want to make sure that valve actually does what it's meant to do, which is, for those of you who may be wondering what it does, I'll explain it very briefly, is that there are two pickups on this fuel cap. So your normal running would be the shorter pickup, meaning that if you're out in the water and you run out of fuel, you still have that small amount. So when you turn your fuel valve to reserve, you've still got that 50 mil of fuel, or 50 millimeters at the bottom of the tank, I should say. It could be a litre, who knows what it would be on this. There would be a spec, I might find it, just to allow you to get back to shore or get back to wherever you need to get back to. So it's a very simple way of leaving you with enough fuel to be able to return to shore, but I've got to make sure that valve works properly, and that also that when it's in the on position, it is drawing from here, not from here. Otherwise, if that is the on position and you run out of fuel, you're done. So I'll just double check that now. Okay, so I've put the fuel valve in the on position. I'll show you in a second. But knowing from my colors here, which is why it's good to color code things, green is the shorter of the pickups, which should be the on position. Now what we're looking for is, it'll probably be a bit hard for you to see, but a bit of air to come out of that line. Okay, so that's good. Now if I turn it to the reserve position, so now in the reserve position, blue is the reserve pickup. Perfect, so that's working. And the last one I want to check is just putting the fuel valve in the off position. Now I should get nothing out of either of green or blue. So if we go green, jam that in there, nothing. You can actually see it's holding pressure. Okay, so that's good. And then blue, same again. Perfect. So the fuel valve works well. So what I'll do is, I'm actually just going to clean that fuel valve up. It's just got a bit of corrosion on it, which is just due to the salt water and the nature of where it's been. So I'll clean that up, and that can stay. That's great. It means you don't have to order one. I actually just noticed something that I wanted to show, and show you if the camera's a bit shaky. I'm freehanding. I've never noticed this before, but obviously labelled return. And then if we go around to one of these other ones, like here, res for reserve. I've never ever noticed it in a jet ski before, potentially because I always work on it once they've been bastardized, I guess, for lack of a better word, by other people. Maybe this is all taken off, but I will obviously be doing the same thing. I'll see if I can get an OEM hose kit with that labeling on there. If not, I'll be sure to label that as well. Next thing I want to look at, again, before we get too deep into this, is the carburetor. And I don't know if you've watched the previous episodes on this, which it would be awesome if you had. You would see that I had trouble with the carburetor, and I was trying to find a rebuild kit. That rebuild kit was okay, but then there were certain parts of the carburetor, as I'm sure you'd remember, that were not very good. Now, one thing that I was able to find is, if I can actually find it, one thing that I was able to find was a carburetor. So the problem that we had with that last carburetor was the plate and the rod that run through the carburetor. Now the name eludes me, which is really annoying at the minute, but it was originally corroded up around the outside. I cleaned it. Those screws broke off when I was cleaning it, but as you can see, this one here works exactly as it should. The carburetor was tested, and I bought it from a guy in California. So I had a look online, couldn't really find too much what I was looking for, and then on eBay of all places, this popped up, and it looked good. So I grabbed it in the hope that basically this will be a set and forget install here. So we'll see how we go. We'll get on there what we need to get on there, and I'm just going to literally sit it on there for the moment and see how we go with other bits that we're going to. I know we're going to need more bits, but I just want to mock it up, and that way I can keep making my shopping list of things that I need. Right, so I've removed that rag and just given that a bit of a vacuum. Get this off here. Blue paint. Sort of like looking at it now going, that's a bit of an interesting choice, but hey, you know what? It's probably unique. I want to sit on the new carburetor on there because I want to see how it, I want to see how well it's going to line up, just to make sure there's nothing crazy different about it. Just being a little bit precautious here with dust. There's a little bit of dust kicking around. I'm just going to grab the vacuum again and just give that a vacuum. Keen-eye viewers would have just seen that I cleverly vacuumed up the washer, so I'll have to go and get that out of the vacuum in a minute. But I'll just try this on here. Okay, off to a pretty good start there. Help if I use the right washer. Okay. Interesting that this bracket, this mount bracket here, looks like it's a little bit off. That's okay, we'll work with that. All right, so carburetor, looking good. Let's, I'm gonna fish out that washer before I forget it, reassemble the whole engine, and lo and behold, vacuum leak. So, pardon the pun. I'm going to get that washer out of the vacuum, come back, put it on, and then we might just gently tighten that carby down. And then I just want to check hoses, see where we are, because there are going to be more hard hoses. This stuff's perished. Like, even, you would remember from the first video when I pulled it apart, I don't know how this ski, like the guy sold it to me as a running ski. It needed cosmetic repair, which is fine. I knew what I was getting myself into, but I don't know how this ski would have run with hoses this hard. Anyway, let's get that washer out and come back. All right, so let's sort of see what we've got going on here. So, get that out of the way. This comes from the fuel valve, so this is going to be obviously our fuel input line, we'll call it, into the carburetor, which will be just on the bottom here. Not that you would call it a bowl, but this is the diaphragm setup of the carburetor in here. What else have we got? This clear one here that I was talking about, I don't know if you can see it, you can. This one here, I feel like that's coming off the side of the crankcase, so that's probably a pulse line, which will go onto there, which I'm not going to be able to get onto there, but that will go onto there. A pulse line, just very briefly, I'm sure someone will correct me, but the basic terminology is as you crank, or it's not a push, it's not a key, it's a push. As you push and the battery cranks the engine over, there's a pulse that's generated by that crank turning over, and it sends air pressure into the carburetor, and the diaphragm sucks and squeezes. I won't say the other word because everyone will be like, oh, you can't say that. Sucks and then pushes fuel in, sucks and pushes fuel in. So it's basically like a mechanical siphon effect. So as the engine's cranking over, it does that, and then when the engine's running, same thing. That pulse is just used to basically move the diaphragm like this, which sucks fuel out of the fuel tank and then injects into the carburetor. All right, so that's that, and then we've got another line here, which top of the carburetor looks probably like a return line, which one of these was labelled return, this one. I don't know how that would get potentially under there, maybe like that, something like that. And then on the side of the carburetor here, yep, so that would be a return of some sort. So fuel in, when there's too much fuel, because it's the way the carburetor is set up, again, heaps of info on YouTube about this. The way the carburetor is set up, it doesn't have a bowl. So small engines, like you would have seen on other videos I've done, they have a bowl at the bottom, and fuel is brought into the bowl either via gravity or electronic fuel pump, lots of different ways. There's a little float, and when that float goes up, like a toilet, no more fuel will come in. As the float drops, it lets fuel in. This can't do that because obviously due to gravity the bowl wouldn't work. So as the pulse is creating that effect on the diaphragm, the mechanical fuel pump, the excess fuel has to return back to the tank, otherwise it would just flood the engine would stall. So the return line basically takes the excess fuel that's not being used by the engine whilst it's running and puts it back into the fuel tank. So it does a big loop like that. This little one here, it's like a little pilot line. I was having a quick look before, but I can't see where that would be. I feel like it's missing from somewhere. Actually, I have a feeling maybe I might have to double check. I might have to double check what that's actually from, what that's picking up, because this engine was rebuilt to a high compression engine. I don't know, that was allegedly what it was. There was a couple of things on the old carburetor which just had plugs on them, so potentially it's been plugged. It does go through into the carburetor housing. It looks like it's some sort of pilot line. I'm not sure, but I'll have a look at that anyway, and we'll see what we can make of it. I'll like I said, I'll double check the repair specs on it, and we see what we can do. Choke. This is missing a mount. I'll have to get a mount for it. That's obviously not going to work like that. I can't even remember how it was. All right. The choke works as well. I think the choke was actually down here doing that, but it doesn't reach now for some reason. No, there's a little plate here. I think that's what the choke was, and the throttle was on there too, coming up. Of course they would be. All right, I'll keep doing some digging and work on to the next point of call. So, sit rep on where we're at. A couple of things which I've just been playing with off camera is that if I tighten the carburetor all the way down, those two bolts foul the throttle movement. So I'm going to have to do something about that, which is fine. I've got the choke cable noted down to order that. I actually had a quick look inside cylinder 1, cylinder 2, and they're like brand new inside, which makes me think that maybe the guy wasn't telling fibs when he said it was rebuilt. I don't know, we'll find out. Maybe it'll explode the first time it starts. I'm now at the point of, I've really got to basically get the jet drive system in this, which means that I've got to take the engine out so that I can get that bearing and sealant done there, because the shaft has to slide in from this way, which, I don't know, like I would have thought Kawasaki and all these manufacturers would have made that a bit different. Like I know that Yamaha, theirs is different. You can slide theirs in and out. Like I think that XLT 1200 I rebuilt, that was in and out from the impeller end, which was way easier. Anyway, so I have to rip this engine out, which is fine because it means I can give all in here a really good clean. I got to clean out the fuel tank. I need a small bit of hose to go between there, which I'll put on the list right now. So I'm sure you remember the donor ski. This didn't have an engine in it for those who may not have watched that video. I bought it for the jet drive because the jet unit was still in it. And it was fine according to the guy who I bought it off, which is cool, like it is what it is. But the other one I obviously couldn't pull apart. So I'm going to pull the jet system off this. As you can see in here, I've taken out that plate. I'll show you that in a second. There is a bit of, not damage, but a bit of scuffing on the prop shaft from this, but that's okay. I'm not really fussed about it, I guess. And this still has the jet unit underneath it, which I'll show you shortly, which, like I said, I'm going to transpose onto the black ski. So this is that jet unit off the purple donor ski. It's a little bit corroded. Sure that it'll clean up okay. I haven't really sort of rotated that too much in there. No, it's jammed perfect. And it looks like, I'll see if I can zoom in a little bit for you guys. Looks like the props damaged as well, like up in there. But at least I'll be able to get this one apart. I couldn't get my other one apart, as a lot of you would know. So I'll clean all this up, get all the corrosion off this. I wish, perfect time to have a vapor blast cabinet. Get all that corrosion off there to come up like brand new. So anyway, that's going to go in the other ski. So that will be happening soon, but I just want to order a few parts so I don't end up in the same space as last time of being delayed with everything. So this is the drive shaft. Oh, they call this a drive shaft holder, and then there's two seals. Actually, put a bit of light there for you. There's two seals either side. And then there's basically a bearing. I don't know if you can see it. There's a bearing in there as well. The bearing's fine. The bearing's very smooth. You can't even tell that there's any wear on it. This is a little bit kind of hodgepodge for me. I'm going to have to clean all this silicone off. But I will use this drive shaft holder because it's in better condition than the one that came off this ski in the first place. But I will probably replace the rubber seals on this because they are a known fail point. And look, you know, they're soft. Like you can sort of see me moving that there with my finger, you know, like it's still soft, but while it's apart, I'd rather replace them now than have to pull this engine out again in, you know, a week after I do the first run on it, because it'd just be silly. So I'm just looking at this carburetor, and like I said, those bolts under there that you can see, they're snaring, or were snaring, on the throttle rod. See it turning there when it's torqued down. But, and someone's probably going to already tell me this in the comments, which is fantastic because I love it when people interact with me. But if this was pulled down, let me zoom in a little bit here, if I can. Those bolts don't line up. I really feel like this has to be higher. So maybe I'm missing a spacer. Maybe I am from the, I'll have a look at the original videos where I tore the engine down, but I feel like I'm missing maybe like a 5 or 10 mil spacer, which I've got a few boxes labeled with all the parts for it, so that could be for that as well, which is, you know, this is all a part of going back to a project that you haven't done for so long. So yeah, excited to get this back underway again. So bit of a brief video. It's awesome to be back in the shed. As you can see, we're back into the swing of it. I've got my list of parts to order, plus a few tools that I know I need. I actually, for the first time in a very long time, I actually sourced the OEM service manual for something, which was very insightful. Just for the small things that are a bit hard to sort of, you know, wrap your head around. But a lot of the parts I'll be filming Tuesdays and Thursdays, which means hopefully on the weekend you will get a video uploaded, and I'll try and keep it regular, because I personally, I love doing this. For me, fixing things and uploading them it's a bit of a creative outlet for me. I don't consider myself an overly, or in the past haven't considered myself an overly creative person, but I think this is something that I really enjoy, and maybe that comes across in the videos. I hope it does, because I really enjoy putting this stuff together and filming and I guess waffling on. But it's that time of night now where it's only getting colder. I need a haircut, which is not going to happen tonight. I just had a look at myself in one of the videos and I was like, what is wrong with you? But I need to eat and I need to rest up for the week of work ahead, including 2 nights of filming and working on that jet ski. So I hope everyone has a lovely week ahead. I thank you all for watching, and I look forward to putting the regular updates for you and seeing the comments coming, because I really do enjoy replying to comments, and understanding what people take from the videos and the questions that are asked. And there's a lot of people out there who've done a lot more work on jet skis than what I have, and they'll throw me a question, and it's a really fun interaction, so I really enjoy that. So please don't be afraid to comment, and I always try and reply where I can. Like everyone else, we're all attached to our phones, and phones go off all the time with notifications. So I hope everyone has a great week. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.